Now this is part 2 of this big document dump 101 through 150, but I want to go back again to this thing that really is bothering me about the Google Drive locations, directions to 1122 King Road residence. Because again, in the scenario that possibly is the idea, and I know this is absolutely crazy, but I just want to throw it out there. In the scenario of the possible idea that Bryan Kohberger wasn't even in the house, that he was just set up for this. So follow this for a moment, because I think it's important to go back to what I said in the previous video. If Bryan Kohberger was set up by somebody for something he didn't do, all somebody would have to do is tell Bryan Kohberger, hey, meet me at this address, 1122 King Road residence. And would not that explain almost everything we know about Bryan Kohberger? Follow the logic. If someone told Bryan Kohberger, meet me at this address at this time, and that's all somebody needed, along with maybe a knife sheath with a little bit of DNA, to blame it on Kohberger. And I know it sounds like a stretch. Don't get me wrong. I do believe it sounds like a stretch, but I want to just hit this one time before we continue with the document dive. If they said, meet me at this address, would not it explain? Google, we know from Molly McMichaels, the DoorDash driver, that Google would try to take you to that house, and it's hard to find the location of the house. It's hard to find. Molly McMichaels drove around and around that neighborhood trying to find 1122 King Road residence. Would not Bryan Kohberger also drive all around trying to find that address, because Google doesn't make it clear what it is? So if it happened to Molly, why wouldn't it have happened to Bryan? It also puts the person parking at the back of the house. That's where the address will take you, to the back of the house, with a footpath saying walk down to the house, right? So again, if Bryan Kohberger was told to meet somebody at that house, and if Google takes him to the back of the house with directions to walk down a footpath to the house, could that explain that as well? So that one has to ask. And so if that happened, and if Bryan Kohberger was supposed to meet somebody and is driving around trying to find their location, guess what? His cell phone might be pinging off the tower that's close to the house. Or even, as some people might say, if it's close enough that it's at the back of the house, maybe touched the Wi-Fi of the house, meaning his phone may have been recognized as touching close to the house. All of those things could be potentially explained by someone simply giving Bryan Kohberger an address. Meet me at this location. And that would explain almost everything, except for the little tiny piece of skin cell that's found on the knife sheath inside the house. Everything else about what we know about, right? Again, Bryan Kohberger cannot be placed in the house. That's something Bill Thompson said. We can't place Bryan Kohberger in the house. We can't place him that has any connection with the girls whatsoever. We have no idea how he picked that house or why he was there. These are all things they've admitted. Did somebody simply give Bryan Kohberger an address, show up here at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's driving around the neighborhood trying to find the location, just like fucking Molly McMichaels ends up behind the house, just like Molly McMichaels? Maybe they did park next to each other, even though it said clearly she didn't see him or the white Elantra. But did that happen? Did somebody simply have an address and he was trying to make, just like Google, and put him at the back of the house? And is that all you needed for somebody who said, there you go, there's our killer. Here's the car circling the neighborhood, suspiciously flipping around trying to find an address? That's what is going on, flipping around and doing a U-turn, a 3-point turn, because he's trying to find the address. That's what I would do if I'm trying to look for. I'm like, fuck, Google says I'm right here, I'm going to do a 3-point turn. I'll go, where the hell's this house I'm looking for? I've done that. Doesn't mean I was circling a house to commit murder. So just food for thought, putting it out there. Continue on. Dustin Blaker. On November 13, this is the day of the murders, 2022, at around 14:19, this would be 2 something in the afternoon, I conducted an interview with somebody by the first name of O. We've heard this before. Somebody with the no, H-O. I just saw up here in the top line, H-O. Somebody with H-O, last name O, at the Moscow Police Department. H, whoever that is, something, one of the victims. I think that's the relationship. And yes, here's where I told you I was hoping I wasn't going to mess this up. I believe this is going to be talking about, and I don't think it's an O, I think it's a C. So I think it's going to be Hunter Chapen. This is what I think I'm going to say right now. I think this is going to be Hunter Chapen, and we're talking about Maisie and Hunter Chapen. So it's an H-C, not an H-O. That's what I'm going to call it right now. November 13th at around whatever, I conducted an interview with Hunter Chapen. That's what I'm going to say, at Moscow Police Department. Hunter, and it's going to say blank, one of the victims, is the brother of one of the victims. That's what essentially I'm thinking is in that blacked out redacted area. Hunter is a student at the University of Idaho and is a member of the such and such fraternity. By the way, again, for those who are new to this case or not super boned up, yes, there's more than one Hunter. Hunter who comes in and finds Ethan in the bed and Xana in the bed is not Hunter, Ethan Chapen's brother. It is not the same Hunter. So yes, there's multiple Hunters. This story gets confusing. There's multiple people with the same names, and it really confuses people. But this is his brother, I believe we're talking about. Hunter's a student at the university and one of the and is a member of the such and such fraternity. Hunter lives at the fraternity. Hunter told me that he and Ethan, that's his brother, went to a formal dinner with their sister, Maisie. That's what the names I'm going to give you right now. I'm certain of this, right? Hunter, so it says H, and I'm not sure about how this works. Maisie is a member of the such and such sorority. So they're all in the Greek system. The formal was at around 1800 hours at Hunga Dunga. We read about this in previous reports. After the formal was over, they went back to some place. Ethan, Xana, and Hunter were all hanging out at his apartment room at the such and such fraternity. So we know Xana was with Hunter and Ethan at the frat. Hunter last saw Ethan and Xana at 2100 hours. Is that 9? When they left his apartment to go up to the main lodge where the house party was at. So they're partying that night. This is before the murders. Hunter returned at 21:15 hours, and Ethan and Xana were gone. So they're at the party. Hunter stated he went to bed at around 10 o'clock at night, right? 2200 hours. I asked Hunter if Ethan had any issues with anyone, and he told me no. I asked Hunter if he knew if Xana had any issues with anyone, and he told me no. Hunter was not able to provide me with any further information. All right, so there we know a little bit again about where the whereabouts of where Xana and Ethan were that night based on Hunter. Dustin Blaker, 1/11/2023. This is the night. This is November 11th, about an incident on November 11th prior to the murders. On November 11, 2022, at around 14:27 hours, I conducted an interview. So this is before. I just got a blank on this. November 11th. The murders happened on November 13th / the night of the 12th. So this is before the murders. I conducted an interview on such and such at the Moscow Police Department. Such and such person with a J told me she lives at something Taylor Avenue. These apartments are referenced as the Whites. This person stated she went to the 1122 King Road residence in the afternoon of 11/22 and was hanging out with Xana. She stated that they all went to the Whites at around 1300 hours for different parties in the apartment complex. Ethan left to go to his sister's formal, but this person was not sure what time that was. I'm super confused how he could be doing an interview with somebody about an event that hadn't happened yet. Anyways, I'm brain locking on that all of a sudden as I'm reading this. Anyways, this individual felt that she got to Xana's house at around 12:30 on 11/12. Again, how are we doing an interview on November 11th about something that happened on the 12th? Anyways, there's got to be a typo or something there. She stated she saw Xana, Ethan, D and B, is that Dylan and Bethany, Kaylee, Maddie, C, L somebody, and E somebody. I'm not even going to try and figure out who those are. I mean, I think we know from other documents, but I'm just going to let it go. She told me that she feels that she last saw Xana and Ethan at around 1500 hours on the 12th. So what's that? 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but was not sure. She told me that she got a text from Ethan asking for the Snapchat of somebody with the initials of CG or OG, but she never sent it to him. She does not know why Ethan wanted this information and stated as far as she knew, they did not have issues with each other. So that sounds weird. Something's going on. Ethan's asking for Snapchat information of some individual. She doesn't know, and she sent him that information, but she doesn't know why Ethan wants that. She didn't think they had any issues. That suggests that she does think that there is some kind of issue, but she didn't think they had issues before that. So why is he asking for it? I don't know. It sounds weird to me. Who is that person? If you guys know, please let me know in the comments. Now, she told me where she had heard from others that Kaylee had seen some random guy behind the house when she took Murphy out to go pee. She also heard of an incident where some random guy followed Kaylee around Winco and followed her out of the store. That was not Brian Koberger, by the way. That was a black man, I think, she said. And she thought he tried to get into her car. She was not sure for sure who she heard this from either. Bethany or Dylan could tell us more, she says. Now, again, this person stalking her or trying to get into her car from Winco, many people jumped to the conclusion that was probably Koberger. I believe she identified it as a black man or a dark-skinned man. And it also leads to the question, how many people are stalking Kaylee? Who's all following Kaylee? Why is Kaylee drawing so much attention from people following her around, trying to get in cars with her? What is going on in Kaylee's life? It makes you things that make me go, Now, she told me she knows Xana and Ethan do like to use Adderall when they drink, but they did not know who they got it from or if they took any on 11/12. She was not able to tell me anything related to the case. Now, I want to stop for a minute because earlier I had said in an early video and people busted my nuts about it. I knew that related to the case, the whole thing in Moscow, that fentanyl-laced cocaine is a thing. We also read in many reports that Xana and Ethan liked to do cocaine, according to people who knew them. That is reported by people who knew Ethan and Xana. They liked to do cocaine. And so when I heard that there was a rolled-up $2 bill in a previous police report and what was a bluish powder that they believed to be drugs, I said, is that fentanyl-laced cocaine? Because they like cocaine. People tend to snort cocaine with a rolled up dollar bill. That's a typical way that you see people doing it, right? So did they use a $2 bill to snort cocaine? Or some people have told me, no, you're wrong, DA, you're an idiot. It was Adderall because they liked Adderall. So maybe it is Adderall. Both, apparently, from what I understand, Adderall and over-the-counter oxycodone so fentanyl is they said, often described as when it's over the counter or hidden. It's hidden like oxycodone and it's blue. So fentanyl could have been blue. Fentanyl in its pure form is white, but when it's sold like a knockoff of oxycodone or something like that, then it looks blue. So is the bluish powder Adderall, a crushed up Adderall pill that's blue, or is it cocaine, fentanyl laced cocaine? Either case, we have I'm just hitting it hard. I don't know, but I want to make sure that you understand. Sure, could have been Adderall. Who knows? Anyways, so that's it for that document. Dustin Blaker on 1/11/2023. On November 13th, this is the day of the murders, at around 14:41, that's about 2:41 in the afternoon, I conducted an interview on A.W. at Moscow Police Department. A lives at the Queen Road, which is in the area of 1122 King Road. A was working at the U of I football game and is at the game until around 20:45 p.m. This is, I'm presuming, the night before. A did not have any interactions with any of the people who lived at the 1122 King Road residence. A saw and heard all of the emergency lights and sirens and looked out and saw some of her friends standing outside with white blankets around them. A went out and brought more blankets to the people outside trying to help. So A, female, is a neighbor in the area who saw the commotion the morning after the football game, after the murders, when people are arriving and the sirens and with that, and she comes out and she sees her friends hanging out there, people she knows, and she brings them out blankets. A told me a few weeks ago, on October 14 at around 1 o'clock in the morning, she heard what she thought was a male walk up to her door and try to open her door. A stated that she had her deadbolt and door were both locked. So this person who lives in the area had somebody suspicious come up to the house and try her front door. She's just saying, hey, by the way, this happened a few weeks ago before the murders. Is it related? I don't know. A told me that she saw photos posted on Snapchat by Kaylee showing Kaylee and Maddie had been at the Corner Club and the Grub Truck. So now we know a little bit more information. Kaylee is taking Snapchat pictures and sending it of them at the corner club bar. Does it matter to the story? I don't know. Let's just file that away in the memory banks and continue on. Brett Payne, 1/11/2023. On November 13th, 2022, at approximately 14:20 hours, I interviewed, and I think this is going to be Maisie Chapen, MC, at the Moscow Police Department in reference to the quadruple homicides at 112 King Road. Maisie is Ethan Chapen's sister, is what it's going to say with the redacted part. Maisie consented to a forensic search of her phone, and I collected it from her. So I am certain, without doubt, that we're talking about Maisie. I asked Maisie to tell me what her day looked like on November 12th, 2022. Maisie stated that she had her blank formal the night of November 2022. Maisie stated she did not do much prior to the formal and then went to Hunga Dunga for the event at approximately 1900 hours. So this is the repeated story about everybody at Hunga Dunga. Maisie said she, Hunter, so yeah, it's Chapen. It's funny. We can know about Ethan Chapen first and last name, but we got to redact Maisie because they're surviving. So Maisie said she and Hunter Chapen and Ethan Chapen left the formal with several other friends at approximately 2000 hours. So what is that, 8 o'clock at night? Maisie stated she was dropped off at her house as the group was planning to go to the such and such lodge party. However, Maisie stated she did not go and remained at her sorority until I believe Hunter, called her the morning of November 13th at approximately 12:30 in the afternoon. Maisie stated Hunter told her to come to Xana's house when he called her. Maisie said Hunter did not elaborate on why she needed to come to the house. Maisie stated Hunter and then JHCEAJ, unknown last name, bunch of names, were all there when she arrived. So this is probably Hunter and Emily, a different Hunter. So it's probably Hunter Johnson and Emily, the girlfriend, the neighbor, J and A, these different females that are there. All of these are the people that we know were there, but also apparently Hunter Chapen as well. Maisie said someone told her that when she got there, that someone was in the house and Ethan and Xana didn't make it. This is important. Right off the bat, they knew that the girls didn't, that Xana and Ethan did not make it. They were dead. At what point did they know that? At what point? Anyways, Maisie told me Ethan, Xana, and Hunter had been texting her the night prior, asking her to come to the such and such place. Maisie said she saw the text once she woke up in the morning on November 13th. Maisie stated she did not go into the house that morning. Maisie could not think of anyone or any reason why someone would want to commit the homicides. All right. Continuing on. Dustin Blaker, 1/11/2023. On November 14th, so this is the day after the murders on 2022, at around 15:52 in the afternoon, I called KF to arrange an interview with her. K had already left Moscow and was heading to southern Idaho to be with her family. Who is KF? So it's whoever it is, it has a relation or a connection with Bethany and Dylan. So let's continue on. Is it the family member of Bethany? Is that what the F for Funk? I'm again, sometimes I blank on these things as I'm going through. So K, this person told me that she had contact with B and D. Is that Bethany and Dylan on 11/12/2022? D, I believe that would be Dylan, arrived at her residence at 22:30. So that would be 10:30. And Bethany arrived at her residence around 23:30. So they were an hour apart, it looks like. So 10 and 11 o'clock at night. So Dylan arrived at the house at 10, Bethany at 11. They weren't together, it sounds like. K lives at the Taylor Avenue. Okay, it's probably not related to Bethany Funk, I don't think. But anyways, I'm not sure. Kay lives at the such and such Taylor Avenue. Bethany and Dylan were at her residence for 2 to 3 hours. Kay stated she walked them past the Whites sometime before 2 in the morning, but she could not positively tell me. Kay stated that she stayed on Taylor and then turned around, and she was not sure what route they took home for sure, but felt they kept walking west on Taylor towards King. She stated that there was a group of 3 or 4 other females with Bethany and Dylan at the time. So who were they hanging out with? It doesn't matter. I don't know. I think it might be other sorority sisters. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. So Kay did state she was drunk at the time and she could not recall all the events and everyone who was present with the group. She stated that she thought L space M was with the group. And there was an L that was with Dylan in the house watching Vampire Diaries when Maddie and Kaylee came home. Kay was not able to tell anyone or tell me anything else. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff we don't understand. I read it because I think it's important. Some of you may want to clarify some things. Who the girls were all with and what was going on at the time of the murders is important, so I wanted to highlight it in case somebody wants to share some more information about it. Dustin Blaker, 1/11/2023, interview with EG. This will be Eric Gower, the Uber driver, I believe. On November 14th, so this is the day after the murders, at around 1700 hours and 10 minutes, I contacted EG, I'm going to say Eric Gower, in the front lobby of the police department. Gower had contacted Moscow PD earlier in the day and stated that he is a local Uber driver who gave me Kaylee and Maddie's gave them a ride home on the 13th. Of November. So this is the day of the murders from the downtown area. Gower had been in the Spokane Coeur d'Alene area when he contacted us and stated he would not be back until 1700 hours. Now that's super interesting to me. Again, the girls come from the Coeur d'Alene area. Xana and Kaylee and Jack DuCoeur all come from the Coeur d'Alene area. That's where they came from before they came to Moscow. It is weird to me, and I'm trying to understand this, and maybe you guys all know the story. It is weird to me that Eric Gower is a driver. Hear me out. Eric Gower is a driver in Moscow, Idaho, right? But he's after the murders, he's in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I need to do the quick math here real quick. Directions from Coeur, I hate spelling Coeur d'Alene, Coeur d'Alene to Moscow, Idaho. It's very, very close. Closer than I thought. 1 hour and a half. Okay, an hour and a half. So it's just interesting to me, however, that Gower is in Coeur d'Alene, where all the girls came from the day after the murders, but he drives at Moscow. Is it unusual for the driver? Anyways, I'm just trying to work that out of my head. Sorry, I'm doing that stream of consciousness on the live recording. I asked Gower how he knew Kaylee and Maddie. Gower stated that he drives for Uber and Lyft, and Kaylee and Maddie have become some of his regular customers, and this is how he met them. Gower stated he was contacted by Kaylee on 11/12, that's the night before the murders, at around 12:02, this would be at 10 o'clock at night, and asked if he could pick her and some friends up at 1122 King Road and take them to the Corner Club. Pay attention. Eric Gower took the girls around 10ish to the Corner Club and picked them up after they were done at the Corner Club, take them back to the house. So both directions. Gower arrived at the residence, this is at 1122 King residence, at 20:15 hours and picked up Kaylee, Maddie, and one other female. Gower stated at 1:45 in the morning on the 13th, he was contacted by Kaylee again and asked if he could pick her and some friends up at the grub truck. Now, here is the interesting part about that. And some friends. So Kaylee goes with Maddie and another individual from 112 King Road residence to the Corner Club. Then she calls Eric Gower to come pick her up after at the grub truck near the Corner Club to pick up her, Maddie, and others. So her, Maddie, and others went to the Corner Club, and she's going to get picked up by her, her, Maddie, and others. I don't know that I have ever heard that others came back to the house. All we hear about is that Maddie and Kaylee came back to the house. So who is the other friend with them? I just have questions. I'm not suggesting there's any big conspiracy here, but it's clear that there was another person with them, but I don't know that another person came back to the house. Or did they? I don't know. Is that the brunette person who's at the house? Right? Right? The brunette who's ducking down whenever somebody looks in the window. Was Kaylee, Maddie, and another woman going to the Corner Club and coming back from the Corner Club? And I've said it a million times, whatever happened that night at the house happened at the Corner Club. That's where I still believe that whatever's going on, the mystery is partly solved by what happened at the Corner Club that night. So I'm still now questioning who came back Who came? Did another person come back with the girls? And why do we not hear about that much? All this is like on the fly consciousness at the moment. All right. So Gower took Kaylee and Maddie home. See, now it says here's what's interesting. Gower says that Kaylee asked if he could pick her and some friends, plural, up. And then it says he took Kaylee and Maddie home. So did they drop off the girl at some other location and then he finished by taking Kaylee and Maddie home? How did it go from Kaylee and Maddie and some friends, or Kaylee and some friends, Maddie and another? So there's 3 at least people, right? It's Kaylee and some friends. That's more than one. But when he takes them home, it's just Kaylee and Maddie. So did he drop off somebody else? I'm just trying to work this shit out. He stated it was 3 to 4 minute drive from the grub truck to the King Road residence. Well, it's hard for me to believe they dropped off a girl at another location when it was only a 3 or 4 minute drive, but it is possible. Maybe they all live really close and he dropped her off at a different apartment complex, or maybe another person came back with them and he just, things that make you go, Now, Gower told me he has been driving for Uber and Lyft since 2019. Gower told me Kaylee has been a regular for at least the last year. Gower stated he was working, but Kaylee did not contact him through Uber or Lyft app, but instead texted him directly both times. Now, I don't want to lead to a bunch of speculation, but we have questions. So Eric Gower, who is married, people have pointed out Eric Gower's wife, and I'm going to repeat a rumor I keep hearing. Everyone says it like it's a foregone conclusion. I have not vetted it, so I'm going to repeat it, but I have not vetted it. So I'm just going to tell you what everybody seems to say is true. Eric Gower's wife works for the police department. All right. And again, that is a rumor that I keep getting told. Well, of course, Eric Gower is involved in this situation. His wife works for the police department. So I don't know if that's true, but it sounds like Eric Gower's wife may work for the police department. Eric Gower might be known by police officers because he may, and another rumor, Eric Gower may have posed as a Santa for a police department event. Him and his wife may be involved with the police department. If so, it's just to be noted. I can't vet that because it's not in the police documents, and they act like in the police documents like they don't know who Eric Gower is. I interviewed a guy named Gower in the lobby. Now, here's something to keep in mind on this stream of consciousness. This interview happened in the lobby of the police station. Was it in the lobby of the police station because Eric Gower's wife works at the police station or works with the police, and Eric Gower did happen to be there, and he's like, hey, can I ask you a few questions about that night? I heard you picked up the girls. Did it happen like that? Or did he come in? Now, it does say that Eric Gower, I think, called and was in Coeur d'Alene and said he'd come down to meet. So I'm thinking it's the latter. But there's just that part in my head that says, people keep saying Eric Gower's wife works for the police department. I don't know if that's the case. All right. So, and again, Kaylee knows him enough that they've exchanged phone numbers, and Kaylee calls or texts him directly. Okay. And so again, and I don't want to speculate, but Kaylee had a lot of different guys in her life. A lot. She was, again, moving into the guy in Texas. Somebody said, a friend said that she had a regular hookup that she had sex with in town. She's the kind of girl that would maybe go home with a stranger from a bar, according to another friend. Kaylee was on Tinder looking for dates. The law enforcement is constantly looking into who she was seeing and what guys she might have been involved with, including investigating somebody and their financial amount of money that they make related to Kaylee. So could she be the kind of girl that would have an inappropriate relationship with a married man? And I hate to say that because it's just a question, and I have no reason to believe that. So I know that I'm going to get kicked in the teeth by victim shaming, suggesting that Kaylee would have, had an inappropriate. And I think the more logical, I'm going to be fair, I think the more logical conclusion about why Kaylee has his personal number is because, again, I think from time to time, if the Uber driver is regularly picking up the same person, maybe he's like, hey, if you text me and I'm not working, I can come pick you up. I don't have to be on duty. I'll come pick you up. Give me a call, give me a text. I'll come pick you up. Or if you text me and I'm not working for Uber, or if you text me that you want to ride, I can stop working for Uber, come pick you up, and I don't have to give Uber some of the money because we'll just do this on a behind the door kind of thing because I have to pay a commission every time I use Uber. So if you just let me know you want to ride, I'll stop working for Uber and come pick you up. So all those scenarios are possible. All right. Gower stated he still had the text on his phone from Kaylee. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to add in the word from Kaylee. And he sent screenshots to me. I burned those screenshots to a DVD and booked it into the property at a later time, along with other documents I had related to the case. Gower was not able to give me more information at that time. All right. Working through the documents. We're getting a half hour in. I don't think we're going to make this in 3 videos this time. I'm going to go ahead and post these 2 videos before I record the others because it's taking so long. So when I get done with this, I'm going to post these 2 videos to the internet, and then I'll continue to work on these other documents later this afternoon. Brett Payne, 1/11/2023, about an event on the day of the murders on November 13, 2022, at approximately 14:37. That's 2:37 in the afternoon, I believe. He interviewed JD. I believe this will be Jack DuCoeur. So this is the day of the murders in the afternoon. Payne is interviewing Jack DuCoeur, ex-boyfriend of Kayla Gonzalez, in reference to the quadruple homicide that occurred at 1122 King Road residence, near where Jack lives, by the way. So DuCoeur was the something. I would say that what's redacted is DuCoeur was the ex-boyfriend of Kayla Gonzalez. That's what that probably says, although I don't know why they would have to redact the name Kayla Gonzalez, because they don't ever redact the victims' names. But anyways, DuCoeur consented to have his phone forensically searched and provided me with his cell phone at the beginning of the interview. So now a lot of people have pointed out one of the reasons why Jack DuCoeur is ruled out so early is he's totally cooperative with police. He shows up early. He shows up on scene to talk to police right off the bat. He gives them the phone. He eventually will consent to a polygraph. We're told, I don't know if it's going to be recorded in the police documents, but apparently he really consented to a polygraph. So he's been upcoming and forthright and handing his phone and everything to the police officers with no objection. So therefore, that was part of why they ruled him out. Now, I asked DuCoeur to tell me about his day on November 12th. DuCoeur stated that he worked at some such a place that was redacted and worked from 1,400 hours, that's 2 in the afternoon, to 2,200 hours, that's 10 in the evening, on November 12th. So right before Kaylee arrives at the Corner Club. He's working right up to the point that Kaylee's arriving at the Corner Club. DuCoeur stated he left his work and dropped off some food for a friend working at the Corner Club. DuCoeur stated he went home and then returned to the Corner Club around 2,300 hours. So let me break this down for you. This right there sounds suspicious to me, but let me break it down for you. According to the police reports that we read so far, the police verified that Jack DuCoeur was at the bar that night at the Corner Club with Kaylee, that they were at opposite ends of the bar, that there was a moment in which they had an exchange and it seemed like it was cordial according to them. Howard Bloom says that he noted that people said there was an exchange that was terse between them. Whatever the case may be, Jack DuCoeur and a group of friends were at the Corner Club at some point for some time. Later on, I believe we were told that Jack Showalter follows the girls out of the Corner Club when they leave at 1 something in the morning, and that Jack DuCoeur was also at the Corner Club. I believe I heard that many times, but maybe we're wrong, because according to this, Jack DuCoeur showed up to drop some food off at the people at the Corner Club and then left very shortly afterwards and wasn't there. He was back at home. So can Jack DuCoeur be at the grub truck with Jack Showalter around the girls? Many people have shown video where they pointed out where Jack DuCoeur is in the audience around the grub truck. So is Jack DuCoeur lying about going home? If he is lying, why the fuck aren't we more concerned about that? So correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be. And again, I'm really asking you to clarify. Did Jack DuCoeur, is he on video at the grub truck at 1 something in the morning? Because according to this, he did at the Corner Club, very short period of time. We know police saw him at the Corner Club, dropping some food off with some friends, and then went home. Or did he stay there at the bar for quite some time and maybe even ended up at the grub truck with the girls after they left? And he's lying about it. If so, why? Now, DuCoeur stated that he saw Gonzalez at the Corner Club and spoke to her briefly, so he's admitting to that part. DuCoeur stated he left the Corner Club but was unsure if Gonzalez left before or after him. Okay, I've seen pictures of what looks like Jack DuCoeur at the grub truck. It looks like him, but I'll tell you, I'm no facial expert, and it's a kind of a top-down shot. Looks like the same clothes. It looks like it's probably him to me, but fuck, I don't know. I'm not going to say definitively. But anyways, so DuCoeur stated he went to bed when he got home. So according to DuCoeur, he was only at the corner club for a short period of time, went home and went to sleep. That's DuCoeur's story. When DuCoeur awoke, he told me he saw a commotion down the street at 1122 King Road. Resident was visible from his place. So he can see. Jack DuCoeur lives within eyesight of his ex-girlfriend's house. Let me also reiterate, for those who believe that Jack DuCoeur could have possibly had something to do with this, because he's a jealous ex-boyfriend who lives within eyesight, it's also within walking distance. Let me also repeat to you that Steve Gonsalves, when questioned about Jack DuCoeur, seemed early on to suspect Jack DuCoeur, made Jack DuCoeur roll up his shirts or whatever, take off his clothes and show that he didn't have any wounds. That's how much Steve Gonsalves was possibly expecting that Jack DuCoeur could have had something to do with his daughter's murder. And in fact, when Steve Gonsalves kind of said, hey, they got Jack going into his house, I want to know what time. Was it really at the time that Jack DuCoeur said, or was it later in the evening? I want to know that, because they don't really clarify that so far. Maybe it will be in the later documents. But even Steve Gonsalves said, they've got Jack going into his own place and not coming back out. But, and this was by Steve himself, but there is a way for Jack to have gotten to the 112 King Road residence without being seen on camera. Funny you would mention that. So again, a lot of people have ruled him out, got an airtight alibi. He's seen on camera going to his room and he doesn't come back out, so he couldn't have done it. Or Steve Gonsalves said, yeah, he can actually get to his girlfriend's house, his ex-girlfriend's house, without being seen on camera. But that's just crazy talk. Anyways, so DuCoeur stated he later looked at his phone. DuCoeur stated he later looked at his phone after he saw the commotion and shit, and after he woke up that day. This is what I'm telling you, Steve. I'm telling you, it looks like to me Jack DuCoeur is lying about his story many different ways, but law enforcement cleared him as having being not involved in any way, shape, or form, despite what looks like many lies. And let me try and point them out for you as we go through this. DuCoeur stated that he later looked at his phone and saw several missed calls from Gonsalves and Mogan from the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. Now, why is that? I call it a lie. Because according to another witness that was interviewed, and we read this in my previous document dumps, she said Jack knew the girls were calling him between 2 and 3 in the morning, but he ignored the calls because he thought it was a booty call from Kaylee. Fuck you. So let me break. Which one? Now, granted, that's not from Jack. That's not from Jack's mouth directly. It's from somebody who said Jack told her. Jack told me that the girls were trying to call him from 2 in the morning, but he ignored the calls because he thought it was a booty call. Well, you didn't ignore the calls if you didn't see the calls until the commotion at the 112 King Road residence after the murders. You didn't ignore the calls. You could maybe make the jump between the two stories if you say, when I saw that she'd been calling that morning, I was like, oh, she must have been calling for a booty call. Maybe you could do that. But according to the friend, they said Jack told her, yeah, she was trying to call me from 2, or and get a hold of me from 2 to 3 in the morning, but I assumed she was just looking for a booty call, so I ignored them. So somebody's wrong or somebody's lying. I clarified DuCoeur's timeline for the night prior. He told me he left the corner club at approximately 1 in the morning. Oh, let's stop and fucking break this shit down right now. Jack DuCoeur tells me he worked until 2200 hours. That's 10 o'clock-ish on November 20th. He left work and dropped off some food. Dropped some food off. That sounds like a really quick event. Dropped some food off at the corner club and went home around 2300 hours. So from 2210, which is 10:10, to 2300 will be 11 o'clock. So at best 50 minutes, right? At best 50 minutes. And he leaves at 11 o'clock. He returned to the corner club. Okay, stated he went home and returned to the corner club around 2300 hours. Oh, there's my mistake, I think. Let me reread this. He dropped off some food. DuCoeur stated he went home, then returned to the corner club. There's my mistake. I am so sorry for saying it was a lie, and I don't want to re-edit this. I'm going to correct my mistake. This explains a lot. Jack DuCoeur didn't go home and then fall asleep, because it says right there, Jack DuCoeur went home and then returned to the corner club later on at 11 o'clock. And then the officer clarified he didn't leave then until 1 in the morning. Okay. So there, that solves that little error right there. I feel bad for getting it wrong. I still feel like there's some shit here. There's some shit here when he says, I don't know if she left before or after me, and those things, but earlier mistake on my part. And again, I don't want to recut the whole video. So hopefully you listened long enough to catch the error and the mistake that I just caught. All right. I feel like I maybe I need to cut it out. Fuck, I don't know. Anyways, DuCoeur stated he later looked at his phone. Okay, we got that part. I clarified his timeline. So I clarified his timeline. He told me he left the corner club at approximately 1 in the morning and returned home. DuCoeur said he got a ride from some specific person, the blank of blank, from such and such fraternity. He told me he thought he went to sleep at approximately 1:30 in the morning and woke approximately at 11:30 the next day. So again, Jack DuCoeur is clearly telling the officer at this point that he was at home by 1-ish and was asleep by 1:30 in the morning. So is Jack DuCoeur on that video at the grub truck at around 1:45? That's the real question. Or what, did he leave well before 1:45 and did get home at 1 o'clock in the morning? No, the girls don't show up until the grub truck around that time. Fuck, I don't know. Something smells shitty. Something smells shitty in this story. But again, I did get something wrong already. So you're like, fuck, you can't trust devil's advocates. He's wrong about shit. I did correct it. But anyways, all right, enough. All right, I asked DuCoeur to tell me what the commotion was that he mentioned. DuCoeur told me he saw law enforcement and emergency vehicles in front of the 1122 King Road residence, so he walked over to see what was happening. Now, we know that Jack DuCoeur walked up to an officer and started talking to him, I believe. I asked DuCoeur to clarify the missed calls that he received earlier that morning. DuCoeur told me he received multiple calls from Gonsalves. That was a mistake. Anyways, Gonsalves and Mogan, one of which was a FaceTime between 2:40 and 3 o'clock in the morning. DuCoeur stated he knew Mogan for some time, but she would not call him for any reason. DuCoeur also said Gonsalves texted him to tell him that he could come over to the house to retrieve his vape pen. Now there's a whole bunch of new shit about those phone calls. Oh, you can come over and get your vape pen. Now we know why she's calling him. She's calling him frantically 10 times between 2 and 3 in the morning because he forgot his vape pen at their house. None of that makes any sense. None of that makes any fucking sense to me. But you guys work it out and explain it to me, and I'll be like, oh, because I already made one mistake, right? All right. I asked DuCoeur if he noticed or heard anything suspicious anytime recently. DuCoeur stated he saw a dark gold, listen to this, I saw a dark gold minivan backing up King Road approximately 1 or 2 to 2 months prior. That's a weird thing. Is there anything you saw suspicious? Well, there was a gold minivan backing up in the area 2 months ago. I don't know how that relates. DuCoeur stated he did not remember any other suspicious circumstances. What was suspicious about a car backing up 2 months ago, and how does it relate to tonight's murder? I don't know. DuCoeur did add that Gonsalves would call him on occasion when she was walking home alone or when she was feeling sketched out. DuCoeur, so was she sketched out that night? Was something going on in the house and she was calling Jack DuCoeur for protection? Is that a possible scenario? DuCoeur stated there were people coming in and out of the 112 King Road residence frequently, and that more people knew the code to the front door than they should have. DuCoeur stated he was not sure if the residents regularly locked the rear sliding glass door. Again, I still keep going back to something I said earlier. I know this is going to be confusing. At some point in an interview, it says that Hunter Johnson, who went over there, used the code to get in the house. And yet multiple times we've been told the front door and the sliding glass door was wide open and reported by multiple people that it was wide open. Why is it that the details of this story are so confusing? Did Hunter have to open the door with the PIN code, or was the door wide open reported by many people? Was the dog running around outside the house or not, loose and never found? Was Hunter Johnson holding a steak knife in the house, out of the house, outside the house, or was it left at the top of the stairs? Why is it the fucking story is so hard to understand? I asked DuCoeur about his relationship with Gonsalves. He told me that they had dated for approximately 5 years and broke up several months prior to a loss of spark, coupled with Gonsalves leaving for a job in Texas. Now, This is now more confirmation that the breakup wasn't 3 weeks ago. It was months ago, according to Jack, and according to at least one other person, it was months ago. But again, it was an on again, off again relationship, according to Howard Bloom, when the night comes falling. And so they were always back together, off again, off again. So was it kind of a combination? Did they break up 3 months ago, get kind of back together for a short period of time, and then break up again 3 weeks ago? That could explain why there's a discrepancy in whether it was months ago or weeks ago that they broke up, because they were apparently off again, on again a lot. All right. And he's just couching it as, we had a loss of a spark. But yet later on, we find out Jack DuCoeur wasn't handling the breakup well and had mental health decline because of the breakup. But now we're going to post it as, we just didn't have a spark anymore. Is that people soft pedal things when they're trying to paint themselves in the best light? So if you don't want to look like you're the suspicious person as the jealous ex-boyfriend, you're like, yeah, things were great between us. That's what you would say if you want to throw off that there might be a suspicious ex-boyfriend element to the investigation. So you're like, yeah, no, things are great. We just lost spark. Mutual agreement. DuCoeur stated there wasn't a conflict and the breakup was mutual. I asked DuCoeur if there was anyone who flirted with Gonsalves. DuCoeur stated there was a male by the name of somebody ER who often flirted with Gonsalves. DuCoeur did not know of any past stalking incidents, nor did he know who would have committed the murders. Now, I find all of this so suspicious. Things are still good between Kaylee and Jack. They still like each other. They're still friends. It was a mutual breakup. Kaylee's telling everybody she has a stalker, but Jack has no idea that she had a stalker. Why does none of that shit make sense? Which one is it? Are things great between her and Jack and they talk all the time and they're still friends and it's mutual and it's all great between the two of us and there's no hard feelings, but yet she's telling everyone around them that she has a stalker and Jack has no idea about it? Or is somebody lying because they're trying to get people to look the wrong direction? I asked DuCoeur about his conversation with Gonsalves at the Corner Club because they know that he talked to her. He said the conversation was short but normal. There you go. DuCoeur did not have any further information for me during the interview, so I concluded the interview with him. That's it. We had a short conversation. It was normal. I would like to know more. What was it about? What did you talk about? Did the police even ask him what he talked to his ex about? Because according to Howard Bloom, Kaylee was at that bar making it clear to everyone that it was over between her and Jack. And she was basically kind of, for what I gather, kind of humiliating him at the bar. But it was a short and normal conversation, no big deal. And that would be what I expect for somebody that wants to make it look like there's no jealous ex-boyfriend here. We're good. Brett Payne, 1/11/2023, investigation of a glove. Now here's where this gets interesting. On November 24th, this is like 11 days after the murders, I collected a black polar penguin glove from the parking lot of King Road. I find that fucking weird. I thought we had read, and maybe I just am doing this too long. I thought we had read that they collected the glove as evidence on the first pass of the scene. But now it's 11 days later, and he's collecting a black polar penguin glove from the parking lot. Is it the second glove? Because they originally only found one glove with blood on it. If they follow the fucking logic. Now, I'm not sure. I got to remember this. If you found a glove with blood on it, as it said they did at the crime scene, and you didn't bag that as evidence, you need to go fuck yourself. That's a huge problem. Sorry for the language. But if you didn't bag that as evidence, the day you found the bloody glove at the crime scene on the day of the murder, and you didn't bag that as evidence, we got a problem. So you have to conclude now. This must be a second glove. It's 11 days later. Did you leave the bloody glove? Did you leave the bloody glove at the scene of the crime for 11 days? No, you had to have. I think you had to have bagged it as evidence. So this must be a second glove. 11 days after the murder, collected a black polar penguin glove. I'm going to argue glove one was found at the scene of the crime. Later on, 11 days later, he finds another glove. That's what it looks like to me, but you tell me. I conducted a subsequent investigation by watching the body-worn camera of Officer Noonan. BWC has many connotations on the internet. Body-worn camera is what it is here, right? So I conducted a subsequent investigation. I can't help interjecting a little humor from time to time. All right. So I conducted a subsequent investigation by watching the BWC, the body-worn camera, of Officer Nunez, the first MPD officer on scene, and looking over the scene photos taken by ISP forensics team. None of these sources showed the glove was present upon the officer's initial response to the scene or during the processing of the scene on the 13th. It was unclear where the glove came from at the time of this writing. This fucking paragraph bothers the piss out of me. Pay attention to what he's saying. If I understand this correctly, 11 days, so if I understand this correctly, on the day of the murders, they find a bloody glove outside the house. I have to assume it was one glove and they bagged it as evidence. I have to assume those things. Brett Payne comes back on 11 days later. He finds, I have to presume, another glove, a second glove, same type, polar penguin glove. Is it the matching glove to the other glove? Why the F aren't we talking about this more? Anyways, so he finds a second glove or the same glove. Now here's where it gets super sketch to me. When he finds the glove, he goes to the effort of looking at body-worn camera of officers who are on scene and notes that at the day of the murders, when they found the other glove, that glove was not there. Tell me I'm hearing it wrong. Tell me I'm reading it wrong. 11 days after the murder, he finds a second glove. He's like, hey, I'm interpreting this. Did we overlook this? Was this glove there since the murder? I'm going to go back and look at the body-worn camera of the officers. How the hell did we miss it? So now I'm imagining that the officer knows exactly where he found the glove, and he's looking for body-worn camera video of an officer walking past that same area to confirm if that glove was sitting there on that day and they just happened to miss it. It's not there. That's what I read it. It sounds to me like he looked at body-worn camera and saw the location where he is now finding another glove, and he doesn't see the glove on the day of the murder. So now my mind is breaking. Now my mind is breaking. So you are telling me that after the murder, somebody came back and left a second glove at the crime scene? A glove that you missed the first time but now shows up after the murders? Or what exactly are you saying? Like, make it make sense. And I can't even give you a narrative for this. I can't even give you a narrative other than if you found one glove, somewhere there's a second glove. That glove apparently wasn't found at the crime scene. One glove is found at the crime scene, a bloody glove found at the crime scene, which apparently they didn't need to test because they already knew it was Brian Koberger based on the DNA sheet, but that's a whole other fucking story. One glove, I'm assuming bagged and tagged as evidence, and then 11 days later, they find a second glove, and it bothers the officer enough that he's like, how the fuck did we miss this other glove? Goes back and looks at body-worn camera and sees that the glove isn't there at the time of the murders or the day of the murders when they showed up. So sometime after the murders and after the glove was collected, another glove shows up at the crime scene. Make that shit make sense for me, please. Make that shit make sense for me. And that's where I'm going to end for the day because my mind just broke. Make that second glove. What is this, fucking Michael Jackson? Do we only have one sequined glove? Sorry, it's a weird reference. It's a thing. All right, make that glove make sense to me. Please make that glove make sense for the love of God.